Week 13, Monday Night Football Print Factory. Good afternoon to everybody watching. Going to talk through an interesting Monday night game here. We've got the Cleveland Browns heading into Denver. I was just talking with the boys about this a little bit. A 42 total, started out at 44. Still a little bit higher than we would expect to see in a night game in Denver, maybe partially due to the fact that this is a non-divisional game. We see that the scoring is a little bit upped in some of these games. And then you've got Jameis Winston, who's actually, for the most part, been pretty good. The Browns coming off a surprising victory Thursday night a week and a half ago against the Steelers in a game with a little bit of weather. Weather not supposed to be hugely impactful here. But I'm here with the guys as usual, JSU. Big T temporarily retiring the Chiquita banana hammock and joins us from his studio in Kentucky. Big T, how are you on this beautiful, beautiful Monday?
Excellent. It's Bo Nix night. I get to go on a show with JFU. He can tell me how bad he is. It's a good day. It's a good day in the life of a fan of football.
It is a good day, JSU. We were talking about the games yesterday, how disgusted we both were that the Bengals chalk managed to get there enough for the slate. It was a weird slate where there were not a lot of ceiling performances. And if you had a Bengals stack, then you probably cashed. You were probably pretty happy. Told you that I had pivoted to A.J. Brown with the news that Devonta Smith was out. And as we were lamenting, it's pretty much Saquon's team. It's pretty much play Saquon. He's going to get 25 to 30 touches every week. Anything anybody else does is gravy, but not to be expected on the DFS front. But we do have, as we were saying, an interesting Monday night game here. How are you doing?
I mean, I'm doing good. My dog just absolutely crop dusted and just walked right away, and it smells like ass now. So thank you, Reggie, for that. It just left me a complete present. I literally thought he shit under the table. I literally had to check to make sure because it smells so bad now. So thank you, Reggie, for that. Don't appreciate it at all. But I still love my dog. And yeah, we get to talk about Bo Nix. I can't wait. I'm excited. I know Tony just can't wait to absolutely just stare at a picture. I know he's got pictures all over his office of Bo Nix that just recently hung up. He's just staring at pictures of Bo Nix. Look at his face. It's like lighting up right now when I say Bo Nix. Do you see it, JT? His face is literally lit up like a Christmas tree because I said Bo Nix. It's crazy how that works. I don't even get it. How is your face so shiny, Tony?
Litten up. It's litten up.
Shut up. How about that?
Definitely a sliver of excitement there. A little bit of a twinkle in Big T's eye when you mentioned Bo Nix. He gave him a little nickname before we came on. I won't repeat it because someone said a filthy word, guys, yesterday on our Up to Lock show. I've never been so offended in my life to be called this word. It is maybe you guys have heard it. I don't want to say it. It rhymes with punt. It was very, very hideous and hurtful. I've never heard such hideous outrage. But anyway,
imagine saying bad language like live on a show.
Disgusting.
I mean, wow. It just brings me back to that video of that kid who called into McAfee and told them to pretty much F Boston. And I mean, just that's some wild stuff right there. Imagine calling into a show just to drop the F-bomb and pretty much mic drop. That's a pretty badass kid, honestly. The more I think about it, the more I actually love that kid. That kid's awesome. I want to be like him. Tony, you think I could be like him?
When you grow up.
When I grow up, yeah. Yeah.
We got the gang in here. Beanair is in there talking about his love for Jameis Winston, who, to be fair, has been certainly an upgrade over Deshaun Watson. Has played pretty well, even in some of the more difficult matchups. Really good game management in that game against the Steelers. You've got Bo Nix and WKJ in here saying that Big T's not able to stand up because he's the topic of conversation right now. Bo Nix, look, I think 8 touchdowns over his last 3 games against 0 interceptions. He has looked like every bit of the franchise quarterback that the Denver Broncos thought they were getting. Big T, initial thoughts on this game before we dive into it at the position and captain level?
Yeah, you talked about it with the total too, where it's a little bit higher total than you would expect from Broncos, Browns, but the offenses have kind of been that way too the last several weeks. Cleveland's offense has been better. It's funny when you got a guy that can actually football in the offense, that tends to help things. And Bo Nix and the Broncos have just been a lot better the last several weeks. Cortland Sutton's been amazing, which has helped. Uh, yeah, it looks like more of an offensive game than you would think. I mean, 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, if you thought about this Monday night game, I would have said the total maybe even high 30s or something, the way these teams were trending. But I think it goes over tonight too. So I think we see points. I know Denver's D is good, but Jameis Winston chucks that ball. It doesn't matter who he plays. So I like these quarterbacks, and I think we see points tonight.
Speaking of the quarterbacks, yes, you'll get into it. Guys, drop any questions that you have in the chat here as we work through this. Bo Nix, 10K, Jameis Winston, 9,600. Around equal representation of these guys in the captain slot, it looks like, in terms of ownership projections. Nick's a little bit higher, actually showing like he might be the highest owned captain tonight. I know you've been on a path where you don't want to play the highest owned captain because it's usually, I think, 60% going to be somebody else that is actually the optimal captain. But what are your thoughts here on Nix and Jameis in this Monday night duel?
Yeah, and real quick, just to touch on what Tony said, I agree with him about the total. Both takes, actually. I agree with the over take in this game, and I agree with the fact that if you made me guess without looking what the total would have been, like I would have guessed like 39.5 or 38. Like I would have literally guessed high 30s, and it's 42 right now. And I talked to you because we were waiting for Tony to get in here. And I was like, man, Bo Nix, if you look at his splits between home and away, he's averaging, just from a fantasy perspective, he's averaging 8 more fantasy points at home than he is away. So this game is in Denver. He, from a fantasy side, has played much better at home. This Cleveland defense, I think, can give up points, obviously. And so the question is more, do we think Jameis against a good Denver defense who has been really tough against the run, they've been good all around, but really tough against the run, can beat them through the air? Because I think for Cleveland to keep this game somewhat competitive and for this game to go over the total like we think it does, I think we need to think that Jameis Winston makes some plays down the field because that's what he's good at. He's not a dink and dunk type of guy. He's a down the field, intermediate and deep ball guy. And that's what he's kind of added to this Cleveland offense. And Tony was like, wow, it's crazy when you get someone who will actually throw the football. Well, yeah, when you get someone who is actually just not holding on to the football, running around, trying to make plays with his legs, and can be in the pocket and can actually let the ball go down the field, that's going to help. And you saw it with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Justin Fields was making plays, but he wasn't making the plays Mike Tomlin wanted. So Mike Tomlin decided, hey, listen, we're going to bring Russell Wilson in. Russell Wilson starts throwing that ball down the field, and the offense opens up. And I think something similar happened with Cleveland, not to that effect, obviously, but something similar where Jameis Winston kind of opened up the offense a little bit more, gave them something that they really didn't have as a threat when Deshaun Watson was in there, whether it just be because Deshaun was taking too many sacks because he was holding the football, wouldn't let the ball go down the field as much, whatever the case may be. That's what happened. And I think we're seeing it right now. And when it comes to these two quarterbacks, you brought up, obviously Bo Nix has more upside because Bo Nix has that rushing ability that I don't think, even though Jameis Winston can rush, he can get some yards on the ground. That's not what he does. That's not like his thing. You know what I mean? He's not a runner, right? He runs if he absolutely has to, but he's not a guy like Bo Nix. Bo Nix can actually get you 50 plus yards rushing. Like that's not a crazy thing for Bo Nix to do. I think he had, 30, 40, 50. He's had a couple games where he's rushed for some big yardage. And, so that gives you that added upside on the ground for someone like Bo Nix. Again, doesn't do it all the time because he's had so much success throwing the ball the last couple of games. he hasn't really needed to run, but he can run. You know what I mean? You see a couple games, 61 yards against the Chargers, 75 yards against New Orleans. These are rushing, you know what I mean? So the rushing attempts have come down, like Tony said, because he's been so good and because he's been so efficient in the pocket. He hasn't needed to do it, but it's still there. So, the quarterbacks are both good plays. I think Jameis is the more interesting contrarian quarterback play at the captain, and that's just because Bo Nix is going to come in as, I think, by far the highest owned captain. And I understand why, and I get it. But I think that makes Jameis a little more of a contrarian type quarterback play that I'm interested in, JT. So I'm going to be higher, I think, on Jameis, and I'm going to be lower on Bo in the captain. I'm going to play a ton of Bo in the flex, but I'm going to be lower on him.
More quarterback captain for you this week, huh?
Yes, more quarter. You just really keep jamming that in there, don't you?
It's crazy.
Yes.
Love to see it.
I mean, seriously though, when you look at the skill position guys, Tony, and we'll get into them after you touch on quarterback, but it's I can pick some of these guys out, but this is not the best game from a skill position standpoint.
It is a bit like roulette. Bo Nix, the third highest rushing prop right now on DraftKings, 21.5 minus 125. Tells you what they think about Cleveland's ability to run the ball here tonight. Big T, Beanair is in saying that's because Cleveland passes a lot more. They have without Nick Chubb. Now Nick Chubb is back, looked fully healthy against the Steelers, but this is a very difficult matchup for opposing running backs. But before we get there, Big T, what are your thoughts on Bo Nix, on Jameis Winston, and using either one of those in the captain spot?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the two best plays, with a few of the receivers that we'll get to I like as well. But, yeah, they're just the best plays, and you can pair them up pretty easy. I always have liked playing quarterback captain when you guys talk about the roulette a little bit, where I can just set a rule in SaberSim, give me two pass catchers with them. It just makes it easier than trying to pick, because even Sutton, I think, is clearly a good captain too with the way he's played, but some of the Cleveland guys like Judy and some of these guys I like, but will I be surprised if they go for 5 or something? No. And I mean, Denver has so many pieces too that it just makes it easy to go quarterback captain. So they're going to be popular, but I mean, I'm super high on them. I want, for as far as rules and stuff that I'm going to have up, definitely one quarterback at least on all my teams, and probably even both. I mean, I want both of them on most of my teams, and captain, mostly captain too. I will have some receivers in the captain as well, but these two are top of the list for me because I think Cleveland's going to score too. So if Cleveland scores, and the good part about Jameis, if Denver wins and Denver's ahead, Jameis is just going to throw all night. And I don't like the running games as we get to the running games. So, and it's more of a roulette wheel too than people might want to think at running back even. So everything kind of lines up with what we're saying here tonight. I feel good about tonight, honestly.
I like a little roulette.
Yeah. Who doesn't like to play roulette? All right. Yep. We'll
I was waiting for Tony to say something. Tony's like, yep, me too. Right. I know what I don't like. I don't like craps. Fuck that game.
So speaking of the roulette wheel, and you touched upon it there, Big T, right? Really, for both of these offenses, outside of maybe David Njoku, and Cortland Sutton, there's no other clear guys. Every week it seems to be a little bit different. Well, Jordan Humphrey gets some action in the end zone. Some weeks, the other weeks, it's going to be Franklin. Vele has had some not big games, but in terms of a showdown, he's at the price where he could be a guy that gets in the mix. But at the running back position, this has been difficult for Denver all season long. Just when you think it's one guy's job, boom, it goes back to the other guy. Everybody wanted to play Audric Estime a couple of weeks ago. Nope, not so fast because it's Javonte Williams that gets all the work. And so you've got a bunch of options on the Denver side. Javonte Williams looking like the best projecting, but I don't think it's as clear-cut there. And then on the Cleveland side, you've got Nick Chubb back. You've got Jerome Ford, who's there, but not getting any of the work now that Chubb is back. And, of course, you also have Jaleel McLaughlin, who mixes in on the Denver side. It's hard for me to get excited about thinking about any one of these running backs as a captain play other than Javonte Williams for a purely contrarian because he had a couple of tough runs at the beginning of last week's game and then pretty much was sidelined the entire game. That's usually when Sean Payton brings these guys off the shelf and gives them a bunch of work. Nick Chubb, as JSU mentioned, difficult matchup here. What are your thoughts at running back, Big T?
Yeah, they haven't done us any favors with pricing either. I mean, Chubb at 9,400 is just really hard to get to unless you think Cleveland has a lot of success on the ground. Man, I struggle to pay 9,400 for a play like that. Javonte, I agree with you that the only way I'm playing him is just to be contrarian. And when you're at home, like Denver's been really good. They're at home. Cleveland is a little bit more of an unknown to me. Like could they lay just a total stinker in a game like this and have Denver just blow them out? I think that's definitely in the cards. And if that happened, could Javonte be the reason where he has 2 or 3 touchdowns and dominates? Yeah, I could make a case for that as a contrarian captain. Will I get to it? Probably not. I don't like the 3-man timeshare. I don't trust the situation at all. And I don't love the pricing. Even if I wanted to pivot to like a Stime or McLaughlin, they're both over 4K. That's just crazy. I mean, those are tough price points. So for me, for running back, and if you're playing one team or 3 max or 20 max even, I think you can fade running backs and just take a stand and play the receivers. We like the quarterbacks. We like the receivers. We're just not sure at who to go with. But the good thing is if you fade running backs, you got a lot more combos to work these pass catchers in and kickers and Ds and stuff like that as we go through. So I don't like the running backs. I'm sure our buddy K Fallick loves running back tonight because I don't like him. I see him in the chat making fun of my camera. Fallick, do you like running backs tonight? I think you do. I bet you do.
I love his camera, Fallick. I think his camera looks great. It's nice and bright. It's perfect.
All inclusive. We love these, Christian.
Speak for yourself, Christian.
As someone says, that's why they have menus. Some people like D's, other people's, they have different tastes. JSU running backs have been difficult for the Denver Broncos to nail down. Just when you think Audric Estime is going to get the opportunity, nope, he gets 2 touches and all the work goes to Javonte. More consistent, certainly on the Cleveland side now that Chubb is back. But as you mentioned, difficult matchup. What are your thoughts here on the running backs as a whole in the flex? Any interest in using any of these guys in the captain spot?
So I don't like the running backs here. And it's more just, it's a couple of things. With Nick Chubb, I'll start with him. And I know he got there last time out. And I didn't like the spot last time. So I'll just own that. He owned us. He was the captain play. I still think that when you look at his numbers, they weren't efficient running the football. He just got the touchdowns. He just got like the short yardage touchdowns. That's fine. That's going to happen with running backs. We see it all the time. But the Cleveland Browns running game has just not been efficient. And against the Broncos team that is really tough against the run, I just really struggle to play someone like Nick Chubb. Their offensive line is not run blocking as good. And it's not like his offensive line from years past. They went from having one of the best run blocking offensive lines that Nick Chubb's been running behind to like one of the worst this year. So I'm out on Nick Chubb. He's way too expensive. I'm probably going to full fade. So if he gets 2 short yardage touchdowns again, then I'm just going to lose because I just don't see it. And then on the other side, you've got the running back death trio. Literally just when you think it's one guy, it's the other guy or the other 2 guys or whatever it is. And I just don't trust Sean Payton, to be honest with you. Like, I'm just going to say I think it's Javonte Williams, but I wouldn't be shocked if Audric Estime played more today. He got like 10% of snaps last game. So I don't know, JT. Like, after this game, which this is kind of a short week, they get the bye, I think, and then they get 2 games within like 3 or 4 days. So maybe that's when they roll out a little of estimate and they trick us, that short kind of like 2 games in 4 days. I could see Peyton doing something like that. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they have the bye after this, right? They're week 13 or week 14.
I don't know. We'll check on
I'm pretty sure they are. This is week 13. I'm pretty sure they're a week 14 bye. So they have a bye after this. So it's not like it's a shorter week and they could use, that's not it. So I could see him coming off the bye, estimate, getting more work. I think today it's Javonte. So if I were going to play anyone, it would be Javonte. I feel like, though, I don't really like them that much either. So I'm lower on the running backs just in general. 6,800 is not a terrible price tag if you think he's the main guy. I don't like McLaughlin at 4,800 though. I don't like estimate at 4K.
For us not liking him though, like we talked about it earlier in the year on this show. Cleveland has not gotten beaten by the ground game anyways all year. So even if we say Denver had one running back tonight, we knew it was Javonte. I still wouldn't love it. Like, I like the price. I would like it more. But I don't like the matchups. So not only is it a 3-way timeshare, I still don't even like the matchup.
It's a way better matchup for Bo. It's definitely a better matchup for Bo, 100%. And like I said, Bo's playing so much better, especially just the last 3 games. He's been playing amazing. Couple that with him playing better at home. It just sets up so much for a Bo game here. So I agree with you. And Spaniard, no, we didn't know each other at all before DFS. So I met Tony at an RG party, I think, back in the day.
Spaniard with the hard-hitting questions here as we dive into who to play on this Monday night showdown.
We answer any question, JT. We don't run away. We answer questions here on this show.
That's why I said if you have any questions, drop them in the chat.
Yeah.
He followed the direction, and he was rewarded with a very compelling, thoughtful answer from you.
That's right. They are a week 14 bye, by the way.
Okay.
So bang. Week 14 bye. So they get a whole week off after this game. So them playing on a somewhat short week doesn't really play in, I don't think.
Okay. So I think, and let's go back to Javonte Williams just a little bit because he has been the more consistent. There's no consistency. But if you want to say one guy usually gets most of the work, or not even usually, one guy more often gets most of the work and actually does something with it, it's Javonte Williams. So at that price point, if it is, Big T, as you say, let's just play out the script where Denver runs away with this. He gets into the box. He gets 60 yards. He's probably optimal at that price point.
Yeah, I would say if he in this game, I would still say right now, if you gave me 60 and a ton, he's going to catch a couple balls too. I mean, I would agree with you. And if you told me he gets, just say 14 or something for sure at 6Ks, I would play him. I wouldn't play him in the captain still, but I would play him in the flex because I think that'll be good. I mean, in these, because even though we talked up the offense and I think it's offensive game, it's still not that high of a total. I don't think there's like some crazy amount of fantasy points in this game. For basically anybody outside the quarterbacks, I'd be happy with 14, 15 fantasy points tonight.
All right. JSU, we'll stick with you and move on to the wide receivers here. The production on both sides, it's been Cortland Sutton for the Broncos for the most part, having a very good season. Maybe surprisingly to some, Cedric Tillman has been really the best receiver on the Brown side of the ball. Cedric Tillman is out tonight. So you've got Sutton, you've got Vela, you've got Lil Jordan Humphrey, and then Troy Franklin occasionally will get in the mix, not nearly as much as the other guys. And then on the Brown side, it's Judy, Elijah Moore, Jamari Thrash. I mean, it's, of course you have Njoku, who's probably going to be option number 1 here for these guys. We'll talk to them when we get to tight ends, but what are your thoughts on using a Sutton or a Judy in the captain? Or does that injury to Tillman, does the fact that you think that there are more ways for Denver to go, that's what's leading you towards more quarterback captain? But thoughts on the receivers and any thoughts on using them in the captain spot?
So first of all, Brandon, just to hit this question, site running anything for Cyber Money, we are running a promo. It's been going on for almost a week now. It's still going on, I'm pretty sure. This is the last day you can get it. Giblets44 is that promo code. It gets you 44% off any package on the site, monthly or weekly, whatever you sign up for, you get 44% off. Use that code Giblets44 if you like some winners. That's the code. Speaking of winners too, by the way, Tony, did you see that winner I posted yesterday for the night game?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I saw you had the opposing running back in your pick for first touchdown.
Is that why you put it up?
I know, but that would have been funny if that was the reason why I put it up. No, it wasn't, but
I had a rule that I wanted two of those three on all my teams.
That running spot was just the nut running spot. It was literally the nut running spot. So mine was more just, I thought because of the conditions, they were literally going to run the ball the whole game. And James Cook comes off the field a decent amount for him being a number one. So Ray Davis short yardage is more of a thing than Ty Johnson third down. Like Ty Johnson was going to get third down, but I thought Ray Davis could get more of the 1 and 2s when James Cook went off. So that was more of the thought process behind it. But yeah, 30-1. If you like 30-1 winners, I swear to God too, like I don't tout my own horn too much, but these first touchdown bets, I've definitely hit more of these like 25-1 plus odds than like anyone giving out first touchdown props. That was 30-1. I hit the Josh.
Why did he look
Oliver
at you
40.
when he said that, JT? He's staring at us. He said, I picked more than anybody this year. A lot of winners over here.
I'm just saying. If you bet them all, you're going to hit some winners right there. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying right now. Giblets 44. You get the promo code. Come in. Find the winners. I know I just jinxed myself for tonight, but fuck it. We're going strong. I'm picking another 30-1. Screw it. Back to the actual question that JT asked me like 5 minutes ago. Receivers. I do think that the Denver defense, as good as they've been, the one spot where they've actually given up fantasy points, as crazy as it sounds, the quarterbacks, they're tough. Running backs are tough. Receivers, though, they have given up some decent fantasy receiving games. Now, I'm not saying that they have bad secondaries or bad coverage. I'm just saying from a fantasy standpoint, when you look at the numbers, they've given up some decent games to receivers. So I do think when we're just talking about receivers, Cleveland's an easier team to peg, JT. Why? Because they lost Cedric Tillman.
Yep.
I think it's a little more concentrated, even though, Thrash is going to get some run, and maybe they'll have another guy who comes in and gets some run. But Denver, it's just so, and I talked about it like for how many weeks when on the main slate, people are like, let's play Bo. And I'm like, the thing I hate about playing Bo is outside of Sutton, unless you just want to play Sutton, like I hate the double stacks because it's just so hard to peg. It's little Jordan Humphrey. It's VLA. They got Marvin Mims or whatever his name is still doing a few things here. Josh Reynolds is questionable, and who knows if he plays. But if he plays, that just throws another receiver possibly into the mix of guys. There's just so many options. Now, they don't use the tight end as much, so you can kind of rule out those guys. But I will say Cleveland has struggled giving up fantasy points to tight ends, a decent amount of fantasy points to tight ends. So, and they're not even like all of them aren't like the top tight ends either. So maybe there's a case to leave the Denver tight ends as much as I don't like them in the player pool, I guess. But the receiver position, I definitely lean more the Cleveland side in general. I think Cortland Sutton should be the number one. He should be projected the highest. But after that, I would have all the Cleveland guys, pass catchers, ahead of the Denver guys. But again, pricing is also that way, right, JT? Because it kind of goes like Cortland Sutton, then the Browns guys. Then after that, it's the friggin' roulette wheel with the, VLAs and the little Jordan Humphreys. And I can say like, I like VLA the most. I think he's the most talented, but Sean Payton just loves little Jordan Humphrey. And he just he just loves trolling us a little bit, designing a few plays for Marvin Mims. So if you made me pick like Denver receivers and how to rank them, I would say it's Sutton, VLA, little Jordan Humphrey. And then from there, it'd be like Josh Reynolds if he plays, Marvin Mims. But yeah, I would prefer the Browns guys for sure. And I like them because with, like Tony said, with the Browns, I can just say pair 2 with Jameis if I'm playing Jameis captain. And there's really like 4 guys that you mainly have to think about, I think, in that pool.
It's a fair point there. If you think that there's been roulette being played, to coin a term, with the running backs in Denver, it's much worse with the tight ends. We'll talk about that when we get there, Big T. But I guess the question here, when you think about this game as a whole, and you look at who's available for the Browns from a receiving perspective, you have Judy, you have Elijah Moore, but you've got David Njoku there. And I think you have to think through who is going to draw Patrick Surtain the most of the time, the talented quarterback from Denver. Is it going to be Judy, or are they going to put him on David Njoku, try and slow him down, and that leave the wide receivers open? What are your thoughts here at the receiver position for both teams?
Yeah, it's a lot of the price points too, which is another reason I like the quarterbacks more tonight. But like Jerry Judy's been awesome lately. He's still 9K though, and I'm just gonna say it. I like Judy tonight. It's a revenge spot too. He hates Denver. I mean, it never worked out there. It's an actual revenge spot. He just doesn't. He never jived with these guys. But man, 9K for Jerry Judy is tough. I could see him really getting clamped tonight, but you have to like him. He's been good. Elijah Moore, 7,800 feels expensive to me too. Feels very expensive to me, honestly, for Elijah Moore, who only wants to catch balls underneath. And Njoku, I'll just throw him in just because it kind of goes with what we're talking about. 8,400 for David Njoku just feels expensive. So I'm actually going to take the other take. I like the Denver guys way more than I like the Cleveland guys. And it kind of just goes with my Bo Nix captain, though, where I can just put 2 of these guys, one of them being Sutton. And I like all these price points, though, like Mims, Lowell Jordan, Troy Franklin. I like those 3 price points. They're just super cheap. And do I know which one it's going to be, to JSU's point? No. But it's also Showdown, where if I get it right at these price points, 3K, 3,200, 2,800, or you could even not play Sutton on a team, play 2 of these cheapies, and hope you just get lucky on the roulette wheel and that you get the touchdowns, and then you can spend up on your Cleveland guys. So you could almost fit, again, it falls back into our standard build. We build a lot, 2 quarterbacks, 2 pass catchers each way. It kind of jives up pretty nicely tonight with what I want to do. I think Sutton's for sure the best. He's been the most consistent. We still haven't really seen all the upside, though. Don't get me wrong. He's been really good, 20, blah, 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 all over and over, solid. But does he have the full upside? I don't know. Vele, I agree with him. Like, I like him. He's definitely the number 2. But his price point is so much higher than these other guys for not that much more upside, in my opinion. I think he's safer. If I end with Vele tonight, I'm happy with it. I'm fine with him. Who was the guy you said earlier, JT, where 14, Javonte? Like, if Vele got me 14 tonight, I would lock him in probably at 6,400. And it's an interesting point, too. Is it Vele or is it Javonte? Similar prices. I think I would play Vele over Javonte, even though the projection's way lower. And it's definitely more risky. Like, Javonte is safer 1,000,000%. But I think Vele could get 8, 9, 10 targets, catch 6 balls, maybe 2 touchdowns or something in there. He really hasn't hit his upside, but he's had opportunity. So, I don't know. I just like these price points just to throw the tight ends too, because it kind of goes with the talk. I mean, I'm not playing these Denver guys. They never use them. Can you leave them in at 1,200, 1,600, even Nate Adkins at 600? Yeah, you could leave them in. I don't hate leaving them in if they somehow just pop in them, but I would not expect points from these tight ends. They don't use them, and they're just so bad.
Vele has been essentially the number 2 wide receiver here, at least in terms of consistency and targets. Think about Sutton. I do think the upside is there. His big 100-game receiving games have come without touchdowns. 8, 9, 10 catches for 100. I think it was 11 for 100 against Carolina, 10 for 122. Didn't get the touchdown. If he gets a touchdown his season in either or both of those games, I think you look at his season a little bit differently and you say, wow, he's on the same level as a Mike Evans. He's on the same level as a, dare I say it, Jamar Chase, who, by the way, Travis is stroking himself.
You just said Jamar Chase.
8,600 Jamar Chase.
I mean, we can't put Jamar Chase, JT in the same category.
8,600 Jamar Chase got 20 fantasy points. Travis, how did those
No, this is what Travis does.
Wide receivers
he'll
work
take
out
the
for you.
victory lap of 8,600 Jamar Chase. He'll take the victory lap of 16 from a 3,400 guy. He'll take whatever victory lap he can get. Those aren't victory laps, Travis. Those are just like, okay, I survived.
We're on the Off the Chalk show, and he's lapping 20 points from a max price Jamar Chase, and then 17 from a 97% owned T. Higgins. So, listen. Anyway, JSU.
I love Jamar Chase. You can't victory lap Jamar Chase. Not this week. Some weeks you can. Not this week.
But can you compare him to Cortland Sutton, Tony?
You definitely can't do that either.
I was making a segue, and the segue worked out beautifully. You just are such a homer, you couldn't let it go. You're like, how could you mention these two guys?
He was such a homer. Did you hear him? Groan, JT? He was like,
he just said Cortland Sutton, if he caught a touchdown every game, would be in the same bracket as
I think I saw a tear. I think I actually saw a tear come down.
Deep. You guys made fun of me. Nothing hurt me till that comment.
All right. JSU, thoughts on the receivers here. And well, you talked about the receivers. Give us your thought, though, before we move on to the tight ends, which I think will be a quick discussion. Who do you think Surtain covers here? Do you think he's going to rove around on these guys? You got Bean Aaron here saying he never follows slot, like he can't ever do it because they're out Tillman. Why not lock down one guy? I mean, maybe that's what Peyton will have him do. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not too worried about it. Judy does play a good amount in the slot too. It's like the highest slot percentage of all the pass catchers. So, but I'm not worried about it. Is Judy good enough where he's going to actually like travel with them? Like I could see if he started to like rip them up maybe, but I don't know if he's that type of guy. So, does it worry me a little? Maybe, but I'm not factoring it in too much. Like I think Jerry Judy's a good play because forget the matchup. They just don't have like other talented guys. Like they need guys like Jerry Judy to make plays. Tony was bringing it up. They got Elijah Moore. I mean, Elijah Moore is fine, but like that's your number 2 receiver is Elijah Moore. So that's not good. Like Jerry Judy has to be really good. Or I think, James is going to struggle. I think it all kind of goes together. So, and then the game is going to go off our script anyways of points. So yeah, I like Jerry Judy here, and I get that he's overpriced, but like Tony, he has to be over. They don't have guys
but they don't have to score is the difference.
They don't, but we think they're going to score.
I think they'll score.
We already went through. We think there's going to be points. So if you think there's going to be points, somebody's got to do the damage. Like if you think it's going to be Elijah Moore, okay, that's fine. Say that. But I think one of these wide receivers does some damage here is my point. So I might even make a rule. Like I want at least one of these like top wide receivers from Cleveland, even though they're expensive. At most 2, because I do think they're like really, really expensive. But like I could see that happening where I make that rule because I do think the running backs won't get there. It's got to be a receiver. Like you still need to play a guy from Cleveland. You got to play at least one. You can only go 5-1. So, you got to play at least one. And I think no matter what, one of these pass catchers gets there.
All right, Big T, back to you, the tight ends. It's David Njoku and everybody else. I think someone was asking about the backup tight end. The number 2 tight end for Cleveland is Jordan Akins, who never feels good to click on his name in any lineup, regardless of format. And then Krull, Troutman, all these other guys for Denver. I think we're in agreement that if you're playing 150 and you want to leave those guys from Denver in your pool at low exposure, I think you would say, okay, fine. But other than that, hard to get to any of those guys in a higher dollar contest.
Yeah, and I don't like any of them. It's just the perfect example. Like tonight, we like the quarterbacks. We like Sutton. We like the. I agree. Njoku, we like him up there. I consider him more of a receiver than a tight end, but tight end. And we like even Elijah Moore. I agree with everything we're saying, but you do have to play some cheapies somewhere. So the good part about SaberSim, we can leave these dust balls in there. I think Jordan Akins would be clearly my favorite just because the Browns do use him and he's cheap. He's in that same bracket as the Denver guys I like. Do I trust Jordan Akins tonight? No. It reminds me a little bit, actually, of Tremble yesterday. Did I like Tremble a lot? No, but I liked his price point and his matchup, and it's kind of similar with Akins. And like JSU said, they're going to have to throw somewhere, and we need cheapies. So I actually probably like Jordan Akins more than the field. I mean, he's only projected to be 9% owned. I want to have a decent amount just because if you start lining it up and we play a quarterback captain, we play the other quarterback, we play one spend-up receiver, we play another spend-up receiver, you just need two cheapies. And if I end up falling on like Mims and Akins for my last two or something like that, I like that build. I'm good with that build tonight. And if Akins is my last guy in or Kroll, I really don't like the Denver guys. I don't even want to use them as an example. But if I did, it would definitely be on a Sutton build, though, where Sutton gets a majority of the work and they get like the touchdown or something to that aspect. But if I actually had to rank them, I think I would even put Jordan Akins ahead of Njoku, as crazy as that sounds, because Njoku is going to be 50% owned. And Jordan Akins is going to be 9, and he's 2,400 compared to 8,400. So I actually have Akins as my number one tight end. He might even end up in my main team tonight just because of price point. It just lines up perfectly with the build I want.
All right.
Is he 30-1 touchdown? Can I beat JSU to put him on the sheet as my 30-1?
Jordan Akins?
Don't give away my damn touchdown bet.
Is he really 30-1?
I think so, because I was thinking about betting him. I think he was around there. He might be. Hold on, I'll tell you right now. Because I like the tight ends, and we're on the same page with Akins because he was someone that I was like, I could see them using this guy way more. He's 45-1 on DK.
Yeah.
That's definitely my first touchdown bet. Holy crap, he's 45-1.
I think he's a real good play too. I mean, he gets a lot of work.
The only problem with him is if they get down in the goal line, he doesn't play as much. They played that Blake Whiteheart 4 or 5 snaps inside the 5 at tight end. Instead of Jordan Akins. Jordan Akins played one of those 5 snaps inside. So if it gets like close, he might come out because they might like this guy more as a blocker, obviously. But that's the third tight end. So that's just another thing. I also saw too that dude's touchdown prop is like it's like 100-1 first touchdown on site we won't name, and he's not even on DK. So I don't know if he's for sure in, but just something to note. I don't even see him on the DK list. So
Whiteheart?
Yeah, Whiteheart.
Whiteheart's 1,200. Or
what is he?
That's in the captain, so he's 800.
No, I was saying on DraftKings.
Oh, you're talking about touchdown odds?
For first touchdown odds. Yeah, I was talking about on DraftKings for first touchdown odds. I don't even see him in the pool of players to pick from. So, yeah, just something to note there. But I agree with you. I don't want to like say the same things as you. I think they could use 2 tight ends more in this game with no Cedric Tillman. That's like the more my point of playing. And maybe I'll leave Whiteheart in there too. Like I don't know. Like maybe they use both, and you never know what can happen. Guys get hurt. We saw it with CMC and Mason all the time. And man, if something happened to Njoku, like Akins would be just a complete nuts. So
and Whiteheart might be even more of the nuts than Akins if Njoku somehow went out.
Exactly.
Just because no one's going to have him. He's going to be 0%.
And the fact that he only played 16% of the snaps, but played 4 of 5 snaps inside the 5 tells me that, like, well, I mean, that's pretty good. If you get that many snaps inside the 5, like, weird things happen inside the 5 and weird guys catch touchdowns just randomly. So, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I just, it's something to say that I could see them play more two tight ends, and we need cheapies. So, yeah, I like the Browns tight ends for sure. And me and Tony are on board with those guys over the Denver guys. I agree with the Denver guys. I probably won't play them, but I'll definitely take shots on the Browns.
All right. JSU, will stick with you to talk about kickers and defenses, and we'll give a couple of those bets out that you like and get out of here. Kickers, Lutz for the Broncos, 5,200. Dustin Hopkins just hasn't seemed to do a whole lot this season. 5K for him. And then on the defense side, you got the Broncos at 5,400 and the Browns at 3,600. The Browns have not had a lot of big plays on defense this season. What are your thoughts at kicker and defense? A little bit pricey, especially on the Denver side.
Yeah, kickers definitely good plays. Just in Denver, I like them more in Denver. I definitely like Will Lutz more than Hopkins. Hopkins just not been very good. Will Lutz hasn't been great, but like we see it in some of these games, and like last game, Denver offense stalls out. He had 22 fantasy points, like crazy game. I think Will Lutz is a really good kicker play. And on the defensive side, I struggle to play the Browns, and I get it. It's another position where really odd things can happen and stuff, but I'm just probably not going to play the Browns. I'm going to leave the Broncos in, but I definitely think I'm going to underproject them, so I'm not going to get as much Denver D. But I'm not going to rule any out because I do think Jameis Winston with Denver D in my specific Jameis Winston captain builds is actually really good for Showdown specifically because, Tony, can't you see a pick 6 from Jameis Winston, but him also throwing 4 touchdowns? Like, I could totally see something like that happening. So I'm not ruling out Denver D, and I specifically like them more for tournaments with Jameis Winston, whether it's in the captain or in the flex, but with Jameis Winston on the team, because you want Jameis Winston slinging the ball. That's how he's going to get in the winner, and it's probably going to result in good plays and some bad plays. So, yeah, I like them. I'm going to be maybe lower than the field on them, but I'm going to make sure I make some, even if I have to hand build some, that just give me some Jameis with the Denver D.
Big T, thoughts on kickers and defense usage, and then any strong leans there?
And how chalky you think they're going to be too, Tony? Because I was wondering that myself.
Seeing about 17%, 20%.
I'm going over. You think it's that low?
Again, that's a projection estimate.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably somewhere in the 20s. I think they'll be somewhat popular, but I agree with a lot of the stuff you said where, I mean, Jameis, we've seen it so many times, and there's just quarterbacks like that where you can just visualize it. You can see him throwing a pick 6 or a fumble to the house and then just chucking it all around as they get down. If there's anyone in football that's likely to have the defense in the winner with them, it's got to be Jameis towards the top of the list. So I love the Denver defense. Will Lutz is always a really good play. He's a good kicker. He's always been a good kicker. And then the Cleveland side, I just don't like as much. I'm going to leave Hopkins in the pool just because of the way the game sets up and how I'm fading the stuff I'm fading. I'm leaving him in, but I doubt I get much. And the Browns defense, I think I'm just going to fade. I mean, I was looking at them. I haven't liked them all year. They had like their swan song last week, playing good against Pittsburgh in the bad weather. But their biggest game all year was, I know you can't just game log watch, but 11 fantasy points was the best all year versus Vegas. I mean, even right now, so we use the example of 14 for those guys. If you guaranteed me 11 right now, I don't think I'd play them just because and I don't think they'll get 11. I'm just using it as an example that if they got 11, I still don't think I would use them. I could see this Denver team having their way big time with Cleveland. The unknown for me in this game is, can Cleveland keep the pace We all think they kind of will. But I wouldn't be shocked if Cleveland just got worked in this game. It definitely would not shock me. So I'm not going to be on the Browns. I won't play the Browns D probably at all. I don't think Bo Nix, the way he plays, he runs, which is good and hard on the defense. And he doesn't really take that many weird chances where Cleveland's defense, I guess they could get a sack for sure and like strip it and go to the house or something. But I don't like Cleveland defense. I don't like Hopkins. I do like both of the Broncos side though, Broncos and Will Lutz.
All right, fair enough. JSU, any bets you want to give out? Any thoughts? Any of your biggest stands you want to share before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, biggest stand, just lower on the running game in general. I like Jerry Jeudy. I'm probably going to over project him too and just hope it's just a Jerry Jeudy volume type game and maybe he gets in the end zone. And I'm going to play some Jameis Winston captain. I think Bo Nix is going to be extremely popular on this slate. Like I just ran a naked just to see on SaberSim how much captain in 150, and it was very heavy Bo Nix, like 50%, just without touching anything, just running it. And so that just tells me right then and there that he's going to be high. Probably not 50%, but he's going to be really high in the captain. And I just want to take some stabs on some lower-owned captains. And I think Jameis, even for a quarterback, is going to be lower-owned on this slate. Because then I think Cortland Sutton's going to get some ownership. Javonte Williams is going to get some ownership. And then you get the skill position guys for the Browns. And then after all those guys, you get a little Jameis. So I got literally like one Jameis lineup in the captain out of my 150 when I just ran it without touching anything. So I think he's a really good lower owned play in the captain. Him, Jerry Jeudy are going to be the two guys I focus on the most. I like Cortland Sutton as the one Denver captain on the other side. Those are going to be my three captains tonight. And for first touchdown bet, I probably will bet Jordan Akins at 45-1. That just seems too high at 45-1. And I think he plays more in this situation without Cedric Tillman. So I do like that as a bet. But yeah, anytime touchdown bet too, plus 950, I think is a good bet too.
Big T, final thoughts here. Any leverage bets, biggest stands you're going to take tonight?
Yeah, I just feel good about it again. I always like these showdowns where I can feel good playing a quarterback with two pass catchers. The other way, a quarterback with one or two pass catchers, and if not two pass catchers, like a kicker or a defense. It just jives so nicely together. Or like you could even play in a game like this. I could see playing a quarterback, two pass catchers, and a kicker or something on the Denver side, and then Jameis with one pass catcher type thing. But it all jives nicely. Like at the end of the night tonight, I'm very confident we're going to see both quarterbacks, a bunch of pass catchers, and maybe one random whatever, defense, kicker, running back if they get a touchdown like we talked about with Javonte. And I love the showdowns where I'm confident in what that construction is going to be, because there's a lot of games where, let's face it, a lot of these teams, it could be a running back, it could be a tight end, it could, in the other games where it's Josh Allen and these guys, it's super likely it's going to be them. But in a game like this, where I feel like I can peg it and eliminate the running backs and eliminate some of the tight ends and eliminate a lot of the plays, I just feel like it gives an advantage. And does that mean that there's no way running backs are going to beat me tonight? Sure, they could easily beat us tonight. You never know in showdown, but I'm fine with that. I can live with that. If the running backs beat me, I can live with that because I'm confident in our decisions. And games like this, I feel good. We just got to hit that lucky combo because there's a lot of receivers. And am I confident if it's going to be Marvin Mims or Little Jordan Humphrey or Troy Franklin? No, but I'm confident one of them is going to be there. So hopefully I hit that combo with which one it is.
By the way, K Fallick likes Kadarius Toney and Jalen Nerden. So any comment?
I didn't even know Kadarius Toney still played football. So
there you go. That was worth it. Do we think there's a touchdown tonight, Tony? I think we both think there's touchdowns tonight.
like I said, I'm very confident Denver's going to score points. I think Cleveland's Super Bowl was last week versus Pittsburgh in the primetime game. I think Cleveland will score. I for sure agree with JSU, but I won't be shocked at all if Denver's
You kind of sound like you're kind of swaying back.
No, because I think Denver's going to kill them early. Like, I think it's going to be pretty comfortable.
Get some garbage time, Jameis, is what you're thinking.
But Jameis in garbage time, I'm pretty confident he might get in there and crush in garbage time. So
then you're confident. Then you're confident he's going to score. Listen, Tony, they don't ask you when you got there, how you got there. They just ask you if you got there at the end of the day. You're saying that Jameis will get there. It's all that matters at the end of the day.
Well, now you do, Anthony. Oh, Falik.
He loves doing this. I really think K Falik he definitely just loves when he throws out those guys that he knows.
He's in a little slump with the plays he's thrown out on this show. So Falik, you need to get off the schneid with one of these guys tonight.
All right, Falik. Listen, if you really like them, okay, let me find you. Let me find you Kadarius Toney here. Hold on, let me find him real quick. Hold on. Nope, he's not on the list. Hold on, let me find Jalen Darden. Jalen Darden is 45-1 first touchdown bet. Go get it.
He doesn't like him, he said.
Oh, he doesn't like him. So he's
briefly about Bryce Young's 9-inch pecker, please. It is an interesting subject, JT. Because
can we talk about it? Can we talk about it?
Everyone, including myself, said this dude was the worst. Blah, blah, blah. Worst trade ever. It still probably is, for that matter. I'm just making an argument. But he's looked pretty good the last several weeks. All of a sudden, it's not looking as bad as it did before.
And you tweeted out, was it you tweeted out? Someone tweeted it out. What if this dude ends up being better than CJ? Was that you? And I was just like, holy shit. Like, he's right. What if this actually happens and he's better than CJ?
It's not totally out of the question either. I'll just say it. It's not totally dead.
I really think though that we judge these quarterbacks too harshly, too early on both sides. Well, not just too harshly, but like I think the other way too, where we think they're the greatest.
We were anointing CJ after 1 year.
We anointed CJ after 1 year, and I think we overblew Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams early in the year. Even now, Caleb Williams, I still don't think he's playing very good. But like these quarterbacks,
he's got upside though when he makes some plays.
He makes plays. Does he make some bad plays too? 100%. I feel like it's his footwork too. He some of the plays, he doesn't even set his feet to throw. He'll jump in the air as it's just like the weirdest thing with Caleb. I think Tom Brady said something. I don't know if Tony, I'm sure you watched it. Did you watch Tom Brady and Bryson DeChambeau, the break 50? Okay, well then you'll know. I
don't like listening to Brady talk at all, for the record.
But you'll know what Tom Brady said something, and it really struck with me because Bryson asked him, "What's one thing you would tell like a new quarterback coming into the league?" And he pretty much just said that quarterbacks nowadays, they just rely on pretty much their athleticism. They don't know what they're gonna do when they get to like that hike before the snap. Like he's like, when I played quarterback, I knew what I was doing before that ball even got hyped. Like I knew what was going on. I knew what the defense was doing. I knew what I was going to do before I snapped that ball. And he's like, nowadays, quarterbacks don't. They just rely on talent and athleticism to get them there. And I was like, holy shit, that's Caleb Williams. It's literally Caleb Williams. Like, he looks like he's playing backyard football when he's jumping over linemen and running all around and jumping when he's throwing and doing crazy shit. And I'm just like, no, that's definitely what Brady's talking about.
Also true, Dante.
JSU, what's it say? You got to read it to me if you're going to fucking post it about me.
That's like your wife judging you. First audition on the bench. It may have been over quick, but don't judge the young guys too early. They might come back strong.
Don't worry, Dante. Maybe the first time didn't come in strong, but the next couple times came in real strong. I'll tell you that. So don't worry, Dante. I'm a fit guy. What are you? Don't worry about me. Don't worry about it. When I get a little older, then start to worry.
Clip that.
Like where Tony's at right now. You know, like when I get to Tony's age.
I still don't understand what fit has to do with that.
I'm a
That's
fit
a different
guy.
conversation.
What do you mean, bro?
Fit has nothing to do with lasting long on the
You got to be fit, bro. You got to be fit.
No.
Got to be fit. Start sweating everywhere.
That's not what they're even talking about. It's a totally different conversation.
I know what they're talking about.
Fit has nothing to do with lasting long on the bench.
Okay.
All right.
You are like you're so wrong. It's not even it's not even worth arguing.
If you got a nice 10 spot up on top rope when you're on the bottom rope, you could be the most fit dude in the world.
Killing me with the top, dude. You're killing me with your favorite position that you can't hit. You're like you always talk about the top
like bottom bunk. You guys don't like. Of course you don't.
I know you just
JT
always
like bottom bunk better.
You just always talk about it though. It's the funniest thing ever.
I like bottom bunk. I mean, is that a crime?
Yeah, you do you, man. You do you. I respect it.
I like
JT.
wall,
You bottom or top? What
wall and bottom bunk are my two specialties.
Are you bottom or top, JT? That's all I want to know.
I can't follow your train of thought here. It's very.
I can't follow your train.
Are you on the bottom or the top when it's over? Like which way are you? Are you? Tony likes being on the bottom.
Oh no! I never finish on the bottom. What are you?
Yeah. I was gonna say because I thought it was weird for a sec because Tony's all like that. I'm always on the top, so yeah.
Okay,